Hi, my name is Kendalyn Mallory, and today I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then I'm going to show you some work that I have for you. Um, so, as I said, my name is Kendalyn. I am currently a senior at the University of Texas at Austin, and I'll be graduating in the spring, so spring 2021, with a double major in marketing through the business school and then advertising through the communication school. Um, I am Dallas raised and Austin brewed. I was raised in Dallas, but I think Austin is truly, I don't know. I came to Austin for school and I just think I found a better version of myself and one that I'm super excited to see develop and grow. And I found that in Austin. So, we got better in Austin. And then something to sum up me as a person and my personality is that I am the loudest, most attention seeking introvert that I know. Um, and I say this for a lot of reasons. I say it because I can be super shy. I can be super quiet and sort of keep to myself sometimes. But I can also be super loud. I can be super sociable. If I'm with the right person or the right people, then I'm talk your ear off. Like I'll talk forever. Um, and I can joke. I'm a little bit sassy when I'm with the right people. Um, and yeah, it's just a different type of person. And I also do things like sing and act where I'm on stage and there's hundreds of people looking at me and I just love that feeling and I love that rush and I love talking to people and learning about people and listening to their stories. But then at the end of the day I have to go home and like be myself. So it's a nice, it's some contradictions, it's a nice balance, but it's me and yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go through some of my work. I am a copywriter, so for all of this stuff, I wrote all the copy for it. The first one we are going to look at is Bond Touch. And Bond Touch, if you don't know, it's these bracelets. And it was originally made for couples that were having like a long distance relationship. So they weren't with each other. And so the idea is if you connect it, they come in pairs, and if you connect it to your phone through Bluetooth, when you tap it, the partnering bracelet will receive a tap and will glow and vibrate. Um, and so it's just something, simple. If you don't have time to call them or text them, it's a quick thing that lets them know so much. It lets them know you love them, you miss them, and all of that. Yeah, and if you don't know what to say or you don't know how to start, it gives you the opportunity, it gives you a starting point. Okay, so we're going to go through the spots first. For these, we're actually going to be purchasing a 90-second slot and displaying them or playing them like back to back. So it's going to be 245, so playing back to back, so it's a 90. And they're going to show you the same story, but from two different perspectives. So you can kind of understand where the other person was coming from, what was really happening, and why it was happening like it was. Um, so the first one we're going to do is about Katie and her dad. Um, Katie wakes up one day, it's a normal day, and she's super excited to seize the day. And she opens the door, and the first thing she sees is her dad rushing past her door. So that's already a missed opportunity, right? She didn't get to say good morning. She didn't get to get that initial interaction. But she sort of moves past it. She gets ready. She comes down for breakfast. And even when she's eating breakfast, she never gets the chance to talk to him or connect because he's on the phone. He's walking back and forth. He's making coffee. There's just a lack of connection there. And so even on the ride to school, he's on the phone. He's talking on the phone. She turns to say bye to him, and he's still on the phone. So she just gets out and leaves. She knows her dad's supposed to pick her up after school, so she's like, that's okay. He'll be done with this then, and we can talk then. We'll get to talk about life then. And turns out her dad wasn't able to come pick her up. So her mom had to pick her up, and she's so disappointed because she really wants to talk to him and just like see how life's going. And so at the end of the day, she's getting ready for bed, she's brushing her teeth, all of that. And she looks outside and sees that her dad is still gone. And so that means the whole day she didn't really get to talk to him. She didn't really get that connection. She didn't get anything. And then right when she's about to go to bed, the bracelet that both her and her dad have, because he knew that he worked these long nights, so they have this bracelet, it begins to glow. And they have an understanding, they have a language, and I'll talk more about our language later. But 3 taps is supposed to mean I love you. It's similar to like the 3 hand squeezes. It means I love you. So she picks it up, and this is what she's been waiting for all day, just the chance to connect to him, the chance to talk to him. And so she sends back her 3 taps, and she's like, I love you. And then it goes to the next one. You see the branding on both things because the branding's actually going to be in the middle of her spot. But we have the branding, goes to the dad. So the dad wakes up, his alarm's going off. It's been going off for a minute, so he's super late and he's rushing, and that's why he's running past the door. And he's brushing his teeth, and while he's brushing his teeth, his phone rings, and it's his partner like, "Hey, we have a meeting, but we're gonna move it to 8:30. It's gonna be earlier." And so now he's in a hurry because it's almost 8:30, and he has all this stuff that he thought he was gonna have more time to do. Um, so he's rushing, he's downstairs, he's walking back and forth trying to make coffee. He's like, okay, let's go. Like, Kate, I gotta take Kate to school. And he actually does turn to say goodbye to her, but by the time he gets his partner to stop talking, Katie's already gotten out the car and walked into the school. So that's the point where he's disappointed and he's realizing that he's not really getting the connection that he's supposed to have. And then at the end of the workday, he actually does plan to leave. He actually is trying to go get Katie from school, but his boss walks in and is like, "Hey, like, are you gonna stay?" And he's like, "No, like I have to." And he's like, "No, like you're the lead of the project, you have to stay." And so now Dad has to stay. Doesn't get the opportunity to work. He can't leave. He can't tell his boss no. So then it's the end of the day. It's nighttime, and he realizes he hasn't gotten to talk to his daughter all day. So he gets the bracelet and he sends her the 3 taps, just hoping that she'll see this and like understand what he's trying to tell her. And she sends the 3 taps back, and it just sort of it makes it better. It makes up for it in a way. Just to know that even though they didn't get the opportunity to see each other in person, they still know that they love each other. Um, and so we have some similar concepts in the other ones. The next one's about Grandpa and his granddaughter Annie. So Grandpa wakes up, he stretches. He looks at his side table and there's a picture, and it's a picture of his wife. His wife is no longer there with him. And so, obviously he loves her very much. And so he smiles at her like she's there. And he gets up and he gets dressed, brushes his teeth, starts cleaning. And while he's cleaning, he sees all these pictures. And so there's a lot of pictures of him and his wife, but there's also a lot of pictures of him, his wife, and these 2 girls, which are his granddaughters. Um, and his granddaughters live further away. And that's initially why they got the bracelet, was so that they could reach out and talk to each other, even though they were far away and busy and on separate schedules. And while he's looking at this picture, and remembering all these happy moments when they were all there, his bracelet starts buzzing. And he smiles and a tear slides down his cheek because he's realizing that he's not alone. Even though he's in this house by himself and doing everything by himself, there are people that love him and remember him and care about him. And then on the flip side, we have Annie. She gets up like it's a normal day. She gets dressed. She puts on her beautiful tiara and all of that. And she's in the living room playing with her sister, and she accidentally knocks over a photo. And when she picks up the photo, it's a picture of her sister, and her grandparents. And so she goes through these flashbacks, remembering when they were all there together and they were all happy, and remembering him. And she remembers that they got the bracelet for him. She remembers having that conversation. And so she runs upstairs, looks through all her stuff, and grabs the bracelet and starts tapping on it, letting him know that she's thinking about him and that she loves him. And she's like, "I remember you. Like, I remember that you exist. You're not alone. Even though we're not in the same environment, we can still in a way be together." And then the last one we have is about Sarah and Danny. Sarah is going through a week. She's texting her boyfriend Danny, and we see the bubbles pop up a couple times, and then the bubbles go away. And so at the end of the week, she's really frustrated because she's been trying to talk to him and trying to reach out, and he's just not responding. And so she, and like a last ditch resort, gets this bracelet because he had gotten them for them. And she was like, "We're never going to use this. We could just text, it's fine." But she's like, maybe he'll have time to respond to this. Maybe he'll look at this and respond to this. And so she goes and she sends the 3 taps. Little does she know that Danny's actually there. And from outside the window, she hears, "I love you too." And she looks out and she sees him and she's smiling and she's just so excited. And she's like, "I love you too." And then on the flip side, we see Danny. We see why he wasn't responding, and it was because he was working. So he was washing dishes in a restaurant in the back. He sees the text come from Sarah. He goes to reply, and just as he does that, cooks come in with all these dishes. So he has to put that down for a second so he can do his job, right? And then the next time, he's walking all these dogs because he's a dog walker on the side. and he sees the text, he goes to respond, but then one of the dogs freaks out, and so he has to go focus on that, and he has to put the phone down for a second. And so we just see it's because he's working, it's because he's trying to figure stuff out. And then we see that he's counting the cash. And then we see that he's actually on an airline website because he's trying to buy an airplane ticket so he can go see Sarah. And then, you know, he's in the cab, he's running through the airport, he's getting there, he's running to the window, and he sees her sitting in the window. And right when he sees her, he gets the 3 taps. And it's just the thought of, even though she didn't know I was here, she was still trying to sit here and reach out to me and tell me that she loved me. And so, of course, he yells, "I love you too." And then she opens the window and smiles, and they're like, "I love you too." And it's sweet. Next, we have our print magazine spreads. And I did this with Meredith. I'm sorry, I forgot to say at the beginning. She was my art director for this, and these are beautiful spreads. And it's the idea that you can be doing your own thing in 2 separate worlds, and you can still have this connection through Bond Touch. So we have a couple of versions of it, and they look really good, and she did amazing on it. And then these are out of home. So the idea is to have 2 different billboards and then sort of play with the aura lights and stuff, so that we can see the connection and the colors can change and you can just feel the energy between the 2 different people. We want to emphasize that distance shouldn't affect your connection, because love can go through a lot of things. Like I said, it can cross the earth and withstand the storm. And we just want to make sure that the distance does not feel that far. We want to make sure love has as little obstacles as possible. And this is another version of it, where it's just changing and we play with the lights and just show them far apart, but having some sort of connection through the Bond Touch. And then we have our zine. It's called The Code of Heart, and it's just, this is the language I was talking about earlier. So we're saying don't let distance make you lose touch. And you might not always have the time, you know, to type everything out or call them and leave a message or anything like that. So with this, you have the taps and you sort of have an understanding of what they mean with each other. And you can say so much with just in like a second. So like we said, 1 tap is I'm thinking about you. We have 1 short tap, pause, short tap is like digital kisses. I miss you is 2, I love you is 3 taps. And you'll just have this understanding between each other what that stuff means. And then we have a plugin. We know that you can leave a voicemail for somebody, but a lot of times with that, especially if they're international, there is a charge on your phone. There's an international charge, and then voicemails have time limits. And sometimes you can't get everything you need to say in like a minute and a half. So with this, you have, there's no time limit on it. And you can record a message and it'll be on the app. And then whenever their schedule allows for them to stop and listen, they can stop and listen to your message, and then they can respond, and y'all can have sort of this conversation. And it's really nice because sometimes you just need to hear their voice. Sometimes you just need to know they're okay and what's going on with their day. And this gives you the opportunity to do that. And we have some examples. You can listen to it. We have Brianna and Liam, and Brianna is somewhere else, but she's talking to Liam. She's telling him happy birthday. Sorry she wasn't there. And just sort of talking through life. And then we have our art installation. The idea is this: they're going to be 2 white LED hearts, and they're going to be in 2 different cities. Right now we have Chicago and LA. And each piece is going to be connected to the servers that actually transmits the tap between users. And when a tap is sent, on the surface of the heart, it's going to show like a little ripple with the Bond Touch logo in the middle. Just a visual representation of how many people it's affecting and how many people are using it and how many people it's touching. And the heart itself is going to be on a building or on a base. Either way, it's going to be connected to a tracker, and it's going to be counting how many taps were sent. And so then there'll be a little thing that says 2,000 hearts have been touched today. How many have you touched? And just showing that even though these people are far apart, it just takes a second. It's as simple, it's that small thing to make a big change. That's the idea of the ripple, you know. And then it'll look something like this, where it has the little thingies on the surface. And yes, And then we have a pre-roll. This pre-roll is going to be unskippable, and it's probably going to be on things like Instagram or YouTube. And the idea is that there are countless moments every day where you're not really doing anything. Even when you're going, there's something. You have to watch a video for class, but there's a pre-roll. There's 15 seconds in front of that video. And so we're saying you have to watch this anyway. You can't skip it, you know. So take this time to tell somebody that you love them. Take this time to remind somebody that you're thinking about them and you care about them. And yeah, we're asking you to seize those moments. The next one we are going to talk about is IQRA, which is the International Queer Rodeo Association. And my copy, I did the copy on this, and my art director was Carlos. And it's very nice. I will link all my art director's pages will be linked on here. And yeah, so this was actually, it's currently called the International Gay Rodeo Association, but I'll talk about later why we want to change it to the International Queer Rodeo Association. And the theme or idea sort of for this campaign is that there is a pattern in rural areas where individuals who are queer or, you know, feel that they're part of the queer community feel that they need to move to cities to find acceptance or to find love or to find themselves. And we're trying to say, here are people who like doing what you like to do. If this is the lifestyle you actually want to live, if you want to do these rodeos, if you want to be in this rural farm lifestyle, you can stay here and you can still succeed and thrive and find acceptance and love. So we're like, come home, like come back, or stay here. If you're already here, don't leave. And you can find future in your present and past. And so this is where we're talking about the rebranding and language overhaul. This is home for everybody. As I said, they're currently called the International Gay Rodeo Association, but there are individuals that participate in the rodeo that do not identify as gay. There's people that identify as lesbian, as bi, as trans, as pan. They identify all over the spectrum. And so we don't want to limit it with the title with just gay, because we want to represent everybody. And on their website and in their events, they definitely present the idea that they're all inclusive. And so we just want to make sure that their language reflects that. And we also want to go and work on taking away gender specific titles. So like best cowboy or best cowgirl, we want to change that to best overall or best cowfolk, or you know, best bronco rider. We want to focus on the skill and reward them from the skill apart from their gender identification. The next thing we have is exclusive content. We have billboards, and they will be on main roads in between rural and urban areas. And the inspiration for the copy is there is a pamphlet that you could find, and it's called the Gay Code, and it was used in the early 1900s to sort of discreetly share an individual's identification, sort of express their comfortability with certain things. And it's still used a lot in urban settings. It's still used and sort of laced in there, but again, it's sort of discreetly used. But we're using this to sort of create a level of exclusivity and pay tribute to the evolution of their community. So if you see this and you're familiar with it because you're part of that community, then you know immediately what this is and you can go search it and all of that. But if you don't, then you know it's just a billboard. You might still go look it up, but we're trying to attract people. While we want everybody to come to the rodeo, we want the queer community to know that they have a home here. So presenting something they're familiar with, you know, sort of gives them a connection. Okay, so we have spots. We have our anthem spot, and we actually borrowed the script. The talking part is borrowed from Janet Mock and Blood Orange's Family. If you look up Family by Janet Mock, you'll see it. And it's just talking about family is the place where you have a community. It's spaces where you don't have to shrink yourself. You can be who you want to be. You basically get to choose your family. You're not limited by biology. You get to choose who you love and choose who loves you. And we're saying that if you come here, there are people that love you and that you can love and find acceptance and happiness and stuff. And then we have one that is playing over the track of Back in Baby's Arms by Patsy Cline. And it's just showing two girls sort of dancing outside of the rodeo, and it's just showing their closeness and their happiness and their love. Um, and yeah, it's just showing them being happy. And we're saying home should be where you can be happy and you can be happy here because no one's going to judge you, no one's going to restrict you on anything. And the next one we have is to stand by your man. Um, and yeah, it's just two guys talking in the field. It looks normal, or not normal. It's all normal, but it just looks like a regular conversation at first. But then one of the people reaches out and grabs his partner's hand and kisses it, and we see them look at each other and look in each other's eyes, and then they're holding each other. Um, and the point of picking these songs was really just to emphasize the undertones present in a lot of these songs because these are classic old country songs. And at the time, people were not comfortable or they were not aware of the undertones and stories that happen in these songs. And so, specifically with Stand By Your Man, we're saying even if you don't understand what's happening, even if you don't know what you're feeling or what they're feeling, stand by them and love them and show the world that you love them. And the next thing we have is the Pioneers of IQRA. We actually looked through the IGRA Hall of Fame and we picked people that were foundational or had a very impactful in the forming of the organization. And the idea is that these people were always there. The queer community has always been there. We weren't necessarily as comfortable with addressing it, but they have always been present and they have helped build our society and our communities. And so we just want to highlight them and make sure they are recognized for what they have done for us. And the last thing we have is Homo for the Holidays. It's sort of an interactive meetup thing for many people that are part of the queer community. They go home to these rural communities for the holidays, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they're having to put on this mask or this performance. Because again, in rural communities, sometimes they tend to be very conservative. And there's a lot of backlash for showing yourself in there. And so we just want to provide a place where it not only sort of normalizes it for the community, but it also gives them a place to sigh and release and just be themselves and not have to worry about anything. That's all I have for that one. The next one we're going to talk about is the Nudge. The Nudge is an itinerary planner. So you join a program. Right now, they're most popular for their city programs. And they have Austin, San Francisco, Seattle, and I think they have a Colorado camping one. And that's what they're known for, is building the itinerary and sending you the text messages. But they also recently have developed these lifestyle programs. They have a reset one where it's focusing on what you eat and sleeping and all of that. They have a eating one that just focuses on eating and it's like trying new things and all of that stuff. And then they also have one called the Ally Program. Currently, the Ally Program is focused on, it's focused mostly on the Black Lives Matter movement, because when it was formed and when they were developing it, that was what was in the news and that's what was being talked about. But we would like to expand it. And so the idea for this campaign is a nudge to a shove, because there's a lot of stuff happening. There's so much you want to be a part of. There's a lot of issues that need addressing, but it can be really scary to step into that arena because you don't want to be disrespectful. You just want to know what's happening. And so we're saying you just need to start the conversation, because we do believe that a lot of the issues that happen and a lot of the conflict has to do with ignorance. And I don't mean ignorance in the negative sense, but more just that people don't know. They don't know what's happening on the other side. They don't know what these people are experiencing on a daily basis, and this is why they're acting like that. So we want to educate them so that they have the opportunity to know and be part of the conversation. And so a nudge to a shove is the idea that a small thing can turn into a big thing. And so how we're planning to do this is, like I said, we're going to expand the Ally Program, and we're going to add 4 topics. We have gender and sexuality, mental health, disabilities, and race. And these programs will last about a month long, and it will sort of dig deeper into the topic and teach you how to properly address it and how to deal with the situation, and even give you steps how to move forward if you want to become a better ally for these people. So the first step we have is listening, because as I said, I think it's a lack of knowledge that causes a lot of the issue and conflict. And And we have an anthem spot, and we actually got people to record this and shoot this. We shot for the IQRA for my previous campaign. I also shot for that, but this one we asked the people to shoot for themselves. And if you see, Carlos is right there. That's actually my partner for IQRA, and he got to be in my nudge campaign. But this one is just showing different people that the Allied program can help you be an ally for. So it says a nudge towards listening is a shove towards understanding. A nudge towards clarity is a shove towards unity. A nudge towards feeling is a shove towards healing. And a nudge towards action is a shove towards change. Then it says, sometimes it's not that my life is strange, it's just that your thoughts may need to rearrange. And if what you want and what you're saying is true, then the reality of it is, I'm just like you. So I'm just trying to get you to see how someone like you can be an ally for me. And then it shows all the people, and we're saying, be an ally for me. And we have the videos here. This is the longer version that has the full poem. And then this is the shorter version that's just showing the different people that the Ally program can help you be an ally for. And then we have a digital spot. This spot is about a woman who has a son who is trans and identifies as a female, but he hasn't come out and let them know that yet. So he's struggling here trying to pretend to be a boy for them. And so, you know, he's in the kitchen, he's just struggling, he's readjusting his clothes, he's just very uncomfortable. And his mom knows that something's wrong. And so one day when he gets home from school, she walks down there to ask him what's wrong. And when she opens the door, she sees that he's in this dress, he has makeup on. And when she looks at his reflection in the mirror, she sees somebody that's scared, but also somebody that just is excited and knows who he's looking at and feels like this is them. So she shuts the door and doesn't say anything because she doesn't know how to address it. And that's when we come in and we say, with Nudge, we can help you start the conversation. If you want to talk to him about this, then this is how you start the conversation. The next thing we have are starting points. As I said, there's a lot of issues and you want to be part of it. You want to help move it towards changing, right? But you don't know where to start. And so that's why we're giving you starting points. So what we're going to initiate, the first thing we're going to initiate is simply putting minority owned and like small businesses into our itinerary. So if you're already part of the city nudges, then we'll start putting these minority historical businesses on your itinerary so you can visit them and they get that exposure. And then at the end of the day, we'll send you a little thing once you've completed the itinerary. We'll be like, what did you think about this? And if you say that you liked it, then we'll be like, well, we're glad you liked it. And here's other things you can do by visiting them and doing this. You actually were contributing towards helping them heal and helping them thrive because they are a struggling business. And we want to make sure that these minority-owned businesses and these struggling businesses stay active and stay in business because there's a lot of history in there. There's a lot of love and culture and everything in those businesses, and we want to make sure they stay with us. And this is our landing page. If you look here, we're showing the spokespeople that we want to have. Currently for the Black Lives Matter movement, they chose a spokesperson, and in the program, she sort of talked through the issue. She, just sort of taught you how to approach it a little bit. But we want to go even deeper and with these topics. For race, we have Rachel Cargill. She's a public academic and a writer and a lecturer. She has a vast social media following, and she focuses on race and how race and gender identification can cross. For mental health, we have Dr. Tori Dixon. She is a licensed counselor, and I've actually seen her speak. She does a lot of speaking, and she's very good and very, not casual, but personable about it, and it makes you understand it. We have Josh Sundis, and he is a comedian, and he's also a Paralympian, and he's a speaker, and he's done several shows, he's written books, and he does a very good job of sort of lightening the topic of disabilities and being like, it's not something you have to be afraid of. You can ask about it, you could talk about it. Yes, it impacts my life, but I've learned to deal with it. And he does a very good job of telling those stories. For gender and sexuality, we have Devin Norell. Z is a non-binary model and a writer and a trans advocate. Z has walked on several runways and been in several magazines, and he's just very good about focusing on gender and sexuality. Z has written for Teen Vogue, Allure, and many other big magazines, and so it would be a great thing to have him speak and focus on it. Yes. And then we have learn, because you listen, you start the conversation kind of, and now you want to learn or unlearn. Because one thing that one of our people talked about, Rachel Cargill, she talked about unlearning racism and biases. And so we want to talk about unlearning it. The first thing we have is an IGTV series, and it's called In Addressment Of. And it will have our spokespeople hosting it, and it'll be podcasts, it'll just be conversations, it'll be that sort of thing, so that it's sort of an introduction to what the rest of the program is going to be. And then at the end, if you enjoyed it and you want to learn more, then you can unlock more content by joining the Ally program. The next thing we have is the kitchen table talks. A lot of serious stuff happens at a kitchen table, a lot of serious talks. And so we want to encourage you to have these raw, authentic conversations and these sometimes uncomfortable conversations with these people. And so we have all these different ones. We have Depression Laced with Love, which is about a couple where one of them has depression and anxiety and they need to learn how to balance it out. We have Changing What You Know, which is discussion between a parent and a child about pronouns and their gender identity. We have More Than That, which is a discussion actually between a stranger and a disabled person, and just giving them the chance to tell their story and their opinion on things. Because a lot of times, you know, we have assumptions. We assume they need help. We assume they need this. And they figured it out a lot of times, and we need to, you know, let them live their lives or give the opportunity to tell us what they need. We have Microaggressions from the Uninformed. This, again, is a parent and a child, but it's about actions that are happening that are causing conflict or discomfort. This is the opportunity for the parent to ask questions and be like, this is what I don't understand. This is what I need you to do so that I can do better. What do you need me to do so that it's better for you? And it's just a good conversation for them to have. We have The Initial Bias, which is actually going to be between various kids and an interviewer, and they're going to be filmed separately so they won't be impacting each other's answers. But we're aiming to uncover racial biases that even at a young age are already present. Whether it's from their parents or from school or from TV or from whatever, there's a lot of biases that already exist, even when they're 5, 6, 7, you know, at these young ages, they already have these things in their minds. And the next thing we're gonna have is Understand and Share. So these are gonna be social ads, and it has our little poem that we wrote. They're gonna go on Instagram or on Facebook, and it's just showing the connection. It's showing that doing all of this stuff can make a change. And then we have challenges. These will happen on the weekend. They're weekend challenges. And it's just things for you to think about and things for you to try that might help you in this situation and help you become a better ally. We have things like engage in a conversation outside of your comfort zone. We have take time to notice the difference between your culture and a colleague's culture. We also have see how many minority or small businesses you can visit in the weekend. So like if you have, you go to HEB, maybe instead of going to HEB, go to this small farmer's market. It's just changing in your perspective and changing your plans so that you can help other people and be a better ally to other people. And then we ask that you post this on your social media, and then you can tag us in it, and whoever went to the most small businesses or whoever presented the conversation they had or presented the difference in cultures and what they learned from it will get a prize. Okay, so we got one more, and it is favor. So this is actually our redo campaign. So I did this previously, I did this last school year. And unfortunately, my art director was not able to join me again on it, but it's okay. And I tried to take what we did and do a new direction. So the idea for this campaign is whatever it takes. So it's like whatever you need, wherever it is, we'll get it to you. Okay, so we'll climb the mountains, we'll cross the state of Texas to get you what you need, and whatever it takes, we got you. And so these are just examples of that. We have one where Jeff, our favorite runner, pulls into a parking lot and sees the building that he has to go into. He walks in the building and looks at his phone to see where he's going, and then goes to the elevator. But the elevator is out of order, so he's like, oh, and so he looks and he sees the stairs. And what we don't realize is that this order is literally on the top floor. So he's climbing the stairs, he has a little jog and it says floor 1. By the time he gets to floor 10, he's a little bit tired. It's a lot of stairs. And then finally we see him get up the final flight of stairs and he's just exhausted and he's just dragging his feet. And it's floor 21. And he opens the door and stumbles inside and gives the lady her order. And then when he turns to leave, he sees that they fixed the elevator, and the time it took him to climb the stairs, they fixed the elevator. But he doesn't necessarily mind, because whatever it takes to get you what you need, that's what we're going to do. And the next one we have is about Katie. She's on her bike and she has her favorite bag on her back, and she's going down the street, and then she stops because there's all this traffic, and she's like, that's all right, I'll just go a different way. I know how to go a different way. And then she sees there's traffic that way too. And so she's like, oh shoot, like I'm gonna have to go the super secret way. Because a lot of times with these favorite deliveries, these people are local to the city that they're delivering in. So it can be sort of efficient for them to be able to go the secret shortcuts and all that stuff. So she puts on her bike gloves, all action movie style, and tightens her helmet, and then she zooms off because she has to get to her destination. She has to get it to you as quick as possible. And she turns down an alleyway. She does a couple more tight turns. And when she comes out, she ends up being right next to like a skate park. And she looks and she's at the edge of the half pipe, but where she needs to be is on the other side of the half pipe. So she's like, that's fine, I got this. She goes ahead and takes the half pipe, lands on the other side, and then zooms off. And then she gets where she's going and, knocks on the door and delivers it. And then she gets back on her bike and zooms off, because we want to make sure you get what you need when you need it, which sometimes requires us to go a little bit, we got to go faster. So favor whatever it takes. We'll do whatever it takes to get you what you need. And then we have Jammin', and this is about Jake. And Jake is resting outside his car on his phone. And we see a favor order pop up, and then he gets in his car and he's like, okay, we got to go. And he puts it on the dock. He turns up the radio as he's pulling out of the parking lot and looking at the directions. And so he's sort of jamming on his way there. And as he's driving, we see that the landscape actually is changing. It's going from city to suburb. We see him do a little solo on some Katy Perry. And he keeps on driving, and then the landscape changes from suburb to rural. So that means he's gone pretty far. He's gone a decent amount. And there are favor tasks where you will go pretty far. I have driven favor, and I have driven the hour to get somewhere to get somebody's stuff. But he keeps driving. We see him, by the time he gets to where he's going, he's like run out of stuff on his playlist. And so he's listening to some like real swoon, old school country music. And as the song ends, he pulls up to this little wooden shack, and he walks up and he's like, hi, like I'm here to get an order for Rachel. And she's like, yeah. And she reaches down and pulls up this little jar of jam. And he sort of takes it and looks at it, and he's like, oh, is that all of it? And she's like, yeah, it's boysenberry peach jam, which is obviously a very specific special jam that probably only the chef makes like this. And so that's why Rachel ordered it from here, because only the shack makes it like this. And so he's like, oh, well, okay. And then he gets back in the car and is jamming to Sweet Caroline as he drives out. And it's like, favor, whatever it takes. And the last thing I have for this is an idea. It's a partnership with TaskRabbit. If you don't know what TaskRabbit is, it is a app where you can hire people to build shelves. You can hire them to pick somebody up. You can hire them to do whatever you need them to do. And one weakness that Favor does have is that we are not necessarily doers. We go retrieve stuff. We go pick it up from the store. We'll go pick whatever up that you need us to pick up, but we are not doers. We don't actually do the task. We just go pick it up. But TaskRabbit, however, it's actually, that's what they do. That's their specialty. So by partnering with them, we actually fill a lot of the holes that we have and expand our limits. One thing that I focused on the last time I did this campaign was, it was if we could, we would. So we'll do a lot of stuff for you, but there's certain things that we cannot do. And with TaskRabbit, now we can do that. So like I said, it fills the holes and expands our limits. You can get anything that you need. And also, TaskRabbit has pretty low brand recognition, and everybody generally knows what Favor is. So by partnering with us, um, that gives them more exposure, that puts their name out there and gives them more business and gets more people on there. And then also they can go interchangeably. If a Favor driver wants to do a TaskRabbit task, he can sign off and do that, and vice versa. So like I said, it just holds us out. Now we can do almost everything. And yeah, and that is all I have for you. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you. I look forward to hearing from you.